What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel and a happy new year to everybody. Let's have a great 2024. Now this is my first video of the year and I wanted to talk about all the games that I beat in 2023. That's right, I want to take a look back and just kind of reflect and really share with you guys the games that I played and my thoughts on them. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started. First game I beat in 2023 was God of War Ragnarok. Now, my experience with the game is great. I'm going to say that if you're a fan of the God of War games, if you've played the first one, this is a really great continuation to that first game. I know this game has already been out for a couple years. I'm sure many of you have already played it if you're fans of these games. So I don't want to say too much on it. Really what I want to say is I think this game's greatest strength is its story. There are some really good character development moments with Kratos, with Atreus having to deal with, you know, making certain decisions that he thinks are right, and dealing with the consequences of those decisions. And Kratos' kind of growth as being a good father, being somebody who's there for his son, and kind of showing that growth as a father as well. As far as gameplay goes, there is some new elements to this game compared to the first one, but overall, it's more or less the same game. There isn't a huge leap in terms of gameplay. There is a lot of cool puzzle elements. If you're a fan of puzzles, I did feel like there were a bit too many puzzles than I would like when I'm thinking of a God of War game, but it's okay. And the areas of this game are much more open as well. So if you're familiar with the first game, this game kind of does that and just does it bigger. So there's some cool exploration levels there as well. Overall, like I said, the narration of this game, the story, is absolutely remarkable. The third act of this game is great. I highly recommend that. If you've played the first game and you've been hesitant, jump on this right now. I really had a great time with it. It's not the biggest thing in the world in terms of innovation and gameplay, but its story is great and it has a really good twist towards the end that really kind of changes a lot of things. So I mean, I had a lot of fun with this game. Highly recommend it, and it's great on the PlayStation 5. Alright, the next game I want to talk about is Pokemon Scarlet. That is the second game that I beat last year, and I have a lot to say about this game. Now, I think the best way to describe Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is it's a game with the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and the lowest of lows being performance. It is, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys, it is a terrible game in terms of performance. It is not good. It's janky. It has frame rate drops. It's not smooth. There's a lot of pop in. It's just a little awkward, and it definitely, at least for me, it does make me worry about Game Freak in the future, because I really do think that this is probably the best that they can do with what they have. I don't think they're the type of studio that can make these kind of big open world games like Scarlet and Violet and have them run smoothly, unfortunately. I think this is kind of what we have. I don't think Pokemon's in any trouble though, because the games sell like crazy anyways, so it's not a really big deal in terms of that. But for me, that was definitely a huge disappointment. It is the reason why I have not returned to that game at all. There's been expansions and DLCs, and I love going back to Pokemon games after a while and kind of continuing where I left off, but in this case, I just did not. I tried. I do go back every now and then to claim my gifts. Sometimes, you know, they give away free legendaries and stuff like that. And I'm quickly reminded as to why I no longer play that game. It is very rough, unfortunately. The highs, though, it is, I would say, probably in terms of like gameplay in Pokemon, I think one of the best ones, if not my favorite, with what it does. And I think for me, the best thing that this game does is party flexibility. The game at the very beginning, really, it's an open world through and through. You could go to any place in the map however way you want. So that means you can go out and look for the Pokemon that you really want to add to your party. And I think that's great, because in past Pokemon games, you know, certain Pokemon that you want are locked after a certain time limit. I mean, not time limit, but a certain moment in the story. And by that point, you're already too far into the game and training them up is a little hard. But in this game, I really love how you can just kind of go out, find the party you like, and if you want to breed them, go for it. Start from level 1 if you want, and really have a nice beefy party towards the end of the game if you want to go that route. And I really spent tons of hours adjusting my party as I was kind of going through the game. And I did love that feature a lot. I think it They did a great job with that. The second thing I would say is there is a really good story here. The post-game story, it is absolutely, I would say it's amazing. It's great. It blew my mind. It's not the greatest story ever told, but it definitely has a really good twist and a really good kind of boss battle at the end, and does a really good job of setting it up, you know, of setting up this final battle, and you know what's at stake, and there's a lot of cool stuff going on there. And the final boss theme song, the music, it's absolutely beautiful. It's great. It definitely lives up to it, and that was such a high moment for me. I would say probably in terms of story, probably the best I've ever felt playing a Pokemon game. So it's one of those things where if you're willing to put up with the jankiness, there is definitely a rewarding feeling at the end of it. You just kind of have to kind of chug along, go through it. Overall though, really good game, really happy with it in terms of story and kind of gameplay and what they do. Unfortunately, it's not a game I would recommend to anybody unless they're really big Pokemon fans. And it sucks because to kind of just close off with this, I mean, Game Freak, they said they were going to put a performance patch, an update. It's been a year. We haven't seen anything about that. So, you know, just a lot of mixed messages. I do think that unfortunately Game Freak, this is probably the best they can do. I don't think they're going to do any better on a Switch 2, in my opinion. It's just, this is what we're kind of stuck with. Alright, so I want to quickly cover two really cool retro games that I played this year. The first one, Castlevania Bloodlines. Castlevania Bloodlines, it's a really good platformer hack and slash game. It is challenging, and I did use some rewind features, or save states really, to kind of get through that game. But it is a really good game. It has some really good, I would say old school graphics, great music, and it gives a good challenge. The second retro game that I played was Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. I was very hyped when this game got announced. It was released on the Nintendo Switch Online service with the GBA stuff, and I was hyped. That was the first game I played, and it's such a charming, beautiful game. Really, I love. I've said this before. I love the Game Boy era of gaming. The 16-bit handheld gaming was beautiful. Everything looked so pretty on that Game Boy Advance. It was awesome. And the Minish Cap is a great game. I'm a big fan of Toon Link. That is my favorite Link. So I'm a big fan of the art style of this game. The dungeons are really good, with the exception of one that is a little annoying. And I was actually really impressed with the length of this game. It's a pretty good length for a handheld game. So I would say this is a really good game if you're a big fan of the classic 2D top-down Zelda games with classic dungeons. You're gonna love this game. Definitely check it out. It is on the Nintendo Switch Online service, so it's right there, easily accessible. So I was really happy with these two retro games. They're great. Alright, so the next game I want to talk about is Death Stranding. This is another polarizing game. It has its haters, it has its people that love it, and I love this game. It is a great game, and I had a really good time playing this, and I really do recommend it. Now, the take that I have with this game is that I wish the beginning of this game was more open in the sense of the creativity side. I think the expectation of this game from Hideo Kojima, considering that it was, you know, the whole lineage of Metal Gear and everything that he had done in the past, I think there was a certain level of expectation. And I do think that there is a really good game to enjoy here. It's just the first couple hours, I would say maybe 10 hours, it's a little rough. I feel like the game kind of gives this illusion of an open world, but there are things that you have to unlock by doing certain story quests. And the thing is, once you unlock all the gadgets and kind of tools at your disposal, it becomes like downright addicting, delivering packages from base to base, or from you know, town to town. Now, at the end of the day, this game is built around you delivering packages. You know, all those memes that you've seen about, oh, it's a UPS simulation, you know, all that stuff, it's legit. You are delivering packages. But when you unlock all the tools that help you deliver these packages, the game becomes downright addicting. Once you unlock the zip line, once you unlock the truck, or the robot companion that follows you around, you know, these little things that kind of make it a little bit better for you to kind of do your route and deliver at a more effective rate, therefore increasing your affinity with the people and then unlocking more stuff. That's really where the essence of this game really kind of spoke to me. And you don't really get that, honestly, till about maybe 10 hours in. And that's a really hard ask for people that are trying to play your game. At the end of the day, time is precious. Games shouldn't get good after 10, 15, 20 hours. You know, and unfortunately, this is one of those games that you kind of have to put up with the early stuff to finally get to the real game, the real meaty part of the game. And once you're there, it is addicting. I built a whole zipline system, basically the length of the entire map. I was absolutely addicted to kind of building an effective zipline system that took me to every base, to every town without me having to freaking walk. It was a really good, and at the end of the day, it was very satisfying when I was able to kind of accomplish that. Now, as far as the story goes, there is a really good story here. And I would say once you beat the game, you do get a really good understanding for what's going on. There is a lot of classic Hideo Kojima vagueness. You don't really know what's going on for a good portion of the game. But literally, I would say on the third act, the very finale of the game, everything is more or less revealed to you, and you kind of get the big picture for as to what is really going on. There is a really good story here. There is some really cool moments with Norman Reedus. A couple of nicks with certain things, but in terms of, you know, what Kojima's trying to tell, I think he does a good job of it for the most part, and everything is revealed towards the end. So I think it is definitely there. The story is there. It is understandable. I was able to kind of grasp it, and it was overall a good game. With the gameplay, I do understand why some people do not like this game, but I do feel like if you kind of get over that hump, and it's a big hump, but once you get over it, there's a game there that you're gonna enjoy. And I really did enjoy it, especially on the PlayStation 5. It really takes advantage of the technology behind the controller, and you're gonna get a really good experience. Alright, the next game we're gonna be talking about is Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana. Now, if you're not familiar with the Ys franchise, I understand. They're a pretty kind of niche type of RPG. Not everybody knows about them. They are an action RPG, so they're in the hack and slash variety. And there's a lot of games in this series, but I've played 8 on the PlayStation 5, and guys, I absolutely love this game. First and foremost, the music absolutely is like amazing. The music is straight bangers after bangers, some great tracks that are there in the game, plus the hack and slash mechanic of the game makes it very quick for you to just like take on enemies. You fight, you keep running. The game is also very fast in terms of like, it's kind of built on speed almost. You're hacking and slashing and you're sprinting, getting to the next area, hack and slash. You're sprinting, going to the next area, hack and slash. There's a really cool, the game is really, really fun. The characters are very likable. There is, the premise of the story is that you're on a deserted island. So the theme of the game is very kind of tropical, and it kind of takes me back to the GameCube days when I was a kid, when I'm playing Mario Kart or like Mario Sunshine, The Wind Waker. These games that were very blue and kind of reminded you of summer and reminded you of just kind of like the beach, and that this game really gives off that vibe. A very, very, very like summery, like, you know, feel good kind of vibe, with great music and very likable characters. The game is cool, man, because you're on a deserted island. There's like a whole village kind of system where if you find stranded people, your village grows and therefore unlock new things that you can buy and craft. Now, some people that you find are mandatory to the story, but there are some that you have to go out there and find yourself. So there is, you know, I like that balance where, you know, you kind of have to go seek them out. And there's also fishing, which I had a lot of fun with. Also, there's a really cool kind of like boss rush mode where you have to defend your base over incoming enemies, and you kind of have to basically, you know, stand up and fight them in waves, which is another fun mechanic of the game. Overall, the game is really cool. It has a really interesting story, really convoluted story. It really goes out there, man. There is, like, you think it's about one thing, and then suddenly you're fighting gods and like all these other things, like literally out of nowhere, and you're just like, how did I get here? But everything is really cool, and the ending is very, very nice. A very nice ending. Man, I really love this game. My experience with it, it was great. It was a really great experience, and I'm very happy that I was able to kind of discover this franchise basically just out of like on a whim. I got the game on sale at GameStop and gave it a shot, and my God, very happy that I did. Really awesome game. The next game I beat this year was Dragon Quest XI. Guys, Dragon Quest XI, what a game. Like, it is, and like this was the first Dragon Quest game I ever beat. I've always known the series for what it was, but never dabbled into it. But I got Dragon Quest XI at a game store in New Jersey. They had it on sale for $10, and for the PS4. So I bought it, and I'm like, let's give this game a shot. And man, this game is so good. First and foremost, the story is absolutely amazing. It is such a great story with a lot of a roller coaster of emotions, a lot of moments of victory, a lot of moments of kind of bitter defeat. There are some moments in the story where it gets dark. Every character has their own moment in your party. There's really good character development here. You really get to know about these characters, and by the time you're done with this game, you literally care about every single one of the members of your party, which is a very, like, for a game to be able to do that, like, you know, you gotta applaud that. They did a really good job at really giving each individual character kind of their moment to shine their own arc. It reminded me of Chrono Trigger, where, you know, each character, man, they had something that just kind of, after you did their quest, you just cared that much more about them. And this game does that very well. Another thing I really like about this game is the combat. It is turn-based, straight up turn-based, classic turn-based style, but man, there's a lot of deep things that go into this combat system. For one, each character has their own skill tree, and as you level up, you get experience points, and you can unlock different kinds of moves, different kinds of abilities. You can make your, you know, a certain character more agile, therefore dodging more attacks. Some characters have specific type moves. Like, there are some characters that have poison attacks, that if you give perks into the poison attack, you'll poison enemies, and then you could stack it where if an enemy's already poisoned and you hit him with another poison attack, it triples damage. So you could really take on big bosses and really take advantage of these mechanics and just really go off. And that's something that I really loved about this game. The boss fights are, in a way, very free, in the sense of, like, you could give any boss, you could poison them, you can confuse them, you can do any kind of status move on them, and which I really love. I know some RPGs don't do that, but this game does. Dragon Quest does, and I really love that because it allows for a lot of, like, good strategic building to kind of for you to figure out as you're fighting these bosses. You could paralyze them with one character, and then you could double the damage with the other character because he's paralyzed. You could do a lot of cool things with that, and I really had a lot of fun with the combat of this game. The game is a beefy game, man. I beat it in took me like 70 hours, 75 hours to beat the game, and that's just the main quest. There is a post game that I have not played through yet, but there is a post game that adds even more time to this game. It is a very lengthy game, but it's definitely worth it and super rewarding at the end. There's a lot of cool things. The worlds are really fun. The art style is great. Akira Toriyama, the guy who does, you know, the Dragon Ball Z animes, if you don't know. So there's a lot of life in these characters. The monsters that you fight have so much personality. I just had a really fun time with this game, and I highly recommend this game to any of you guys if you have the time. Obviously, this game took me like almost 4 months to beat. It was a long game. I don't have that much time to play games like that, so it took me a long time to beat this one, but I was very happy when I did. Very happy. Really great game. Now, not every game can be perfect, right? I did play this one game called Lost Ruins on Steam Deck. Platformer, not much to say really. It is one of those games that wants to be a lot of things, and therefore it is nothing. Unfortunately, you feel like it wants to be a Metroidvania, but it's not. You feel like it wants to be. It has this like Dark Souls element to it, where you have to rest by the fire in order to heal, but when you heal, the enemies spawn, and the combat, you know, is brutal, where you could easily die. But really, it doesn't really know what it wants to be. It struggles with its identity, and the inventory menu system is super cumbersome. It's not the best game, but the good thing is that it is a short game. I beat it in about 7 hours. It is a good, you know, if you have some time to kill and you want to just kind of play something a little different, maybe give Lost Ruins a try. But I would say out of all the games I've played this year, this one was probably the one I did not like, unfortunately. Now, the next game I played was Lost Judgment. If you guys don't know, they're made by RGG Studios, which is the people that make the Like a Dragon games and the Yakuza games. So, and this game, for the most part, follows a lot of the same kind of elements of those games. There's a lot of side stuff to do. You could go into the arcades and play a lot of retro games if you want to do that, which I spent a lot of time. Claw games where you can play the claw, batting cages, a lot of crazy wacky side quests. There's one with the UFO that I thought was really, really funny. Had a lot of fun doing that. This game is really fun, has a really entertaining combat system, and it has a really, really good story. It follows a detective, and it is a sequel to the other games, but you know, what I ended up doing was I went on YouTube and saw basically a story summary of the first one, and then I just jumped into the second one and just kind of did that because I just really wanted to play the second one. This game overall was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the messaging of this game. They really touch on kind of bullying in schools and how that could lead to bigger implications if left kind of ignored, if you don't address it as teachers or if you don't address it as, you know, fellow students. Basically, it starts off as a bullying case where a detective is hired to go to a school to kind of investigate the school who's being bullied. And the more you kind of go into it, it goes into a much deeper story. And overall, it has a really good message. I actually really liked it. Really good story. If you know the RGG games, they are very cinematic heavy. Some cutscenes are pretty long, 5 to 10 minute long cutscenes at times. But it is a really good game. There's a lot of fun side quests and just kind of side things that you could do. Really awesome game. I had a lot of fun with Lost Judgment. I do recommend it a lot. Alright, so the next game I played was Trails of Cold Steel. I played this on my Steam Deck. Guys, this was a very interesting game. Now, first and foremost, I have a bone to pick with timetobeat.com. They're a website that kind of gives you kind of an estimate of how long a game beats. How long a game is, so you know what to expect. And they were saying this game takes about 40 to 50 hours to beat. I'm like, that's not bad. I could probably beat this in a couple months or whatever. Bro, it took me 77 hours to beat this game. I don't understand I don't know how that person played it. Maybe he played it in easy mode. I don't know where they got that number. Maybe I just was so bad at the game. I really don't know. But Trails of Cold Steel, I wanted to play this game because The Legend of Heroes is a very popular franchise, niche as well. But what makes it so popular is that it's a continuation that expands in 9 games. And Trails of Cold Steel has 4 games within it. And there's Trails in the Sky, and Trails to Reverie, which recently came out. So I wanted to get into the franchise. So I started off with Trails of Cold Steel. And this is kind of like a Persona-esque type game. Although what I do appreciate about this game is it's a bit more grounded. It's definitely more realistic in terms of kind of real world conflicts, and just kind of dealing with certain things in terms of, personal. With like emotions and just kind of growing up. Now, one of the things I liked about this game was the characters. I think this is probably my favorite thing about the game. I think the characters have a lot of growth. There's a lot of really good character development moments. Each character you start the game off, the characters are one type of personality. By the time you finish the game, you could see the growth that they've had. Basically, it's a group of students who are in this military academy that when they started the year, their whole point is to you guys have to go to certain cities and do certain missions to gain experience in battle and know what it's like to be a soldier and to know what it's like to be a general, a commander. And while they're in school, a whole real world conflict begins between nations that kind of basically ends in like a type of war situation, and they're caught kind of in the middle of it because they're in a military academy. So by the time you finish this game, they've already seen and experienced so many things that they're different people. Like you feel how grown they are, how mature they've gotten, and just kind of the type of people they want to be. And I really do appreciate that, because that's something I appreciate in film. I really enjoy movies that kind of really highlight character development, you know, and you kind of follow these characters along and you watch them grow, you know, you watch them kind of learn, make mistakes. And the game does a really good job of that. I would say this is the highlight of the game. The game is a little janky. It is an old game. This game initially came out, I believe, on the PlayStation 3 or PS Vita. Either way, this game is about 10, 11 years old. It's an older game, so it does feel a little outdated in terms of the day-to-day stuff. When you're not doing missions, you're doing other things, and well, that's where I kind of struggle to kind of, you know, find motivation to keep playing. But the story really does a great job of kind of pushing you along. You want to know what happens next with the story. The combat is really good. It is a turn-based system, and it's super in-depth as well. There's a lot of things that go into the combat. Very, very challenging boss fights. The boss fights are insanely hard. Some of them are insanely hard. I even had to lower the difficulty in some of the boss fights. I don't know. Oh my god, they feel very spongy. Like, you hit them with these ultimate attacks, and it's like you barely touch them. Some of the boss fights are infuriating to do, but they are super challenging. If you're kind of looking for that challenging boss fight type game, I would say this one's up there. This is probably the hardest one I've played, I think, out of all the games this year. But super rewarding when you defeat them. So I would say the story, the characters, and the combat system are really the big highlight of this game. It is lengthy, and a game this old, that lengthy, I will admit, I was getting towards the end of this game, and I almost gave up. Like, I was about to just stop playing, but I had gone to a point where, like, I've gone this far, I might as well finish it. It definitely pushed my limits, but I am glad I saw it through. So I do recommend it if you're interested in The Legend of Heroes. If you want to get into this franchise, I would say this is a good starting off point. I had a decent time with it. If you're into RPGs, you might like this game, so I would recommend it, but with a grain of salt. It is a long game. It is some of its mechanics are very dated, so keep that in mind before you hit it. The next game I beat in the year 2023 was Super Mario RPG. That's right, I finally played Super Mario RPG for the first time. I never played it as a kid. It was one of those games that I just kind of missed, did not get. I didn't have a Super Nintendo, so, you know, it's one of those things. But man, I played this game on the Switch, and I don't know, I think it's because I had come off Dragon Quest, I had come off The Legend of Heroes, I had come off a lot of beefy RPGs. It was very refreshing playing one that was pretty straightforward. It's a very linear RPG. It is easy, a little too easy in my opinion, but I think if you're somebody who is new to the RPG genre, you want to get into it, this is probably the best game to get into. It is funny, it is charming. Mario, Peach, Bowser, you know, you got all those characters there. The famous Geno is in this game, and which in my opinion a little overrated after I played this game. I think Mello is the better character. I think Mello deserves a Smash spot more than Geno. Is the story super deep? Not really. It's a pretty I would say it's a good story. It's a fun story. The boss fights, again, this game is a very easy game. What I do like about it is the charm, the graphics, very 90s. I love the aesthetic of this game. The music is beautiful. Just kind of the way it looks on the Switch OLED is absolutely beautiful. This is a fun game. It took me about 20 hours to beat. Not a long game by any means. And it is a fun ride. You're going to have a good time playing this game, in my opinion. And there's just a lot of good, lighthearted moments and I would say comedic things that are happening in this game. I had a lot of fun with Mario RPG. I recommend it. And now we finally reached the last game of the year. And the last game I beat this year was Ys 9 Monsters Nox. Guys, I had to double dip and go into another Ys game to end the year. I loved Ys 8 so much. I needed to play the next one, and I got Ys 9. And really, in my opinion, okay, this is my opinion. I did not like this game as much as I liked 8. The thing I loved so much about Ys 8, this is going to turn into a whole Ys thing right here at the end, but the thing I loved the most about Ys 8 was its openness. You're in this deserted island, so you're kind of going through valleys, mountains, beaches, abandoned towns and villages, you know, there's like a mystery you're trying to solve. In Ys 9, for the most part, you're in a city, and you're only in the city. The city is about 80-85% of the game. There are some open areas outside of the city, but they don't compare to Ys 8 at all. Like, they're just kind of, you know, they aren't the focus of the game. You're in the city a lot, and you're in dungeons a lot. So you feel the game feels a little more trapped in a certain way. Also, the game does something with kind of the boss rush waves that 8 does, but I don't like how 9 does it. I just feel like they kind of do a little bit too much with it, where it gets a little disorientating. You don't really know what's going on half the time because there's so much things going on. You don't know what you're hitting sometimes. So I have it wasn't the best game for me compared to 8. I think 8 just, you know, had such a high bar for it to kind of surpass, but has really good characters. The story, I would say, is not as strong as 8, but there is a good story there. It has a really good boss fight, a really good final boss fight that's super challenging. I was pulling my hairs because of how annoying it was, but it is a good boss fight. The ending is very nice, has a really nice ending. The characters, again, very likable, and it does, I would say, look a lot cleaner than 8 because it is a newer game. So overall, I would say there are some good things about 9. I just don't think it matches up to the greatness that is Ys 8. So yeah, unfortunately, that's just kind of where I'm at. But Ys 9, I would say it's a good game. If I had to recommend one out of the two, I would definitely recommend Ys 8. Ys 9, I think it's a really good game if you're a big fan of the Ys franchise. But I would say 8 is a great starting off point. But overall, it was a good experience. I'm happy. I'm happy with the experience that I had. It wasn't the best, but I would give it a good experience for the most part. Alright guys, so that is the end of all the games that I beat in 2023. I beat a lot of RPGs this year. I was very happy with the games that I was able to, you know, to finally beat. There are a lot of other games that I played that I just did not finish, unfortunately. But overall, I think if I had to pick one game that I would say was my favorite one out of the year, it's either between Dragon Quest XI or Ys 8, and I would probably go with Ys 8, just because of the fact that I still have to do the post game of Dragon Quest XI. I haven't fully seen the full thing technically, so I would give it to Ys 8 just by a small margin. I would give Ys 8 probably the best game I played this year. But overall, I had a lot of fun playing games this year, and I had a lot of fun, guys, making videos for you this year. Thank you all for liking and subscribing to my videos. For, you know, some of these videos got a lot of pretty good views, man. I did not see that coming. Last I checked, we had around 600 subscribers, which is really good. Will we hit 1,000 subscribers this year? I don't know. That'd be great, but I am very excited to see what games I'm going to play next in 2024, and I appreciate the support you guys have given me. I appreciate the likes, the views, you know, the comments, you know, everything. Definitely, as somebody who really, like, I started from scratch, zero subscribers. I'm very happy with the support I've gotten. Very, very thankful for that, guys. Thank you all for watching this video. Like and subscribe. Be sure to comment. What was your game of the year? What game did you like? We all know Baldur's Gate 3 won game of the year, but what was your game of the year? My game of the year, Ys 8, a game that came out 5, 6, 7 years ago. That was my game of the year. I don't care. What was your game of the year? What games did you guys play in 2023? What games are you excited to play in 2024? Let me know in the comments below, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.